Hello and welcome. You're here now, settling into the quiet of your evening. You've made it to the end of another day. Whatever that day held, wherever it took you, whatever it asked of you, it is behind you now. The hours have settled. The world outside has grown quiet. And here, in this moment, there is nothing waiting for you. You are already exactly where you need to be. It's worth knowing that your brain right now is not waiting for you to tell it to rest. It has already begun. Somewhere deep in the center of your mind, a small structure called the pineal gland has been responding to the darkness around you, releasing a molecule called melatonin. Slowly, quietly, without any effort on your part. It has been doing this for as long as you have been alive. The chemistry of your mind is already shifting. Electrical activity that runs fast and bright during the day is beginning to soften. The signals between neurons, those long branching cells that carry everything you think and feel, are starting to space out, like footsteps on a path that gradually slows to a stroll, and then to something quieter still. You don't have to do anything with that information. It is simply happening, the way evening happens, the way your breath moves in and out without instruction. Tonight, there is nothing to understand, nothing to hold on to or file away. The thoughts that feel important right now, they are already being taken care of. Your brain is a system that has been managing your inner life for every moment of your existence, and it will continue to do so long after you drift off. All that's here tonight is soft science, gentle facts about the brain, your brain, offered slowly, with no urgency, no conclusions to reach, just something calm to rest alongside. So let your eyes stay closed, let your body stay heavy, and let the words move past you the way water moves past stone, present, unhurried, and leaving everything a little more still than it found it. There is something quietly remarkable about the brain that most people never have reason to consider. For all the noise a busy mind can seem to make, all the circling thoughts, the small unfinished things, the memories that surface without invitation, the brain itself is not actually a fast place, not in the way we tend to imagine it. The signals that travel through your nervous system move at many different speeds. Some of them, the ones carrying the sharpest sensations, move quickly, but many others move slowly. Some nerve fibers carry their messages at just 0.5 meter per second, a gentle drift, less like electricity and more like something flowing through still water, finding its way without hurry. The brain that feels busy is still. Underneath everything, a slow and patient system. And the thoughts that seem to rush, they are not really rushing either. They are simply passing through. One arriving before the last has fully settled, the way clouds move across an open sky. They don't require anything from you. They were never waiting for you to catch them. There is a network inside the brain that becomes most active not when you are focused or solving something, but when you are at rest. Scientists call it the default mode network. It is a collection of regions that quietly hum with activity during moments just like this one. When the eyes are closed, when the body is still, when the day's demands have stepped back, when the mind wanders, it is often this network at work. For a long time, mind wandering was thought to be a kind of lapse, the brain losing its footing, drifting somewhere it shouldn't. But that understanding has softened over the years. What researchers have found is that this wandering has a purpose. The default mode network is involved in gently processing experience, in drawing loose connections, in doing the quiet work that focused attention doesn't leave room for. A wandering mind is not a broken one. It is a mind doing maintenance. unhurried background work, the kind that happens on its own, without direction, without needing to be watched over. So the thoughts that are still moving through you right now, the ones that surface and drift and surface again, they are part of this. They are not obstacles to rest. They are the sound of a system that is already winding down in its own way, following its own gentle order. You don't have to quiet them. You don't have to follow them either. They will move through on their own, the way a slow current moves through still water, carrying things downstream without any help at all. The brain that feels like it won't stop is the same brain that, very soon, will let everything go. It has always known how to do that. It is already on its way. Inside the brain and body right now, something very gentle is already underway. It has been underway for a while, actually, since the light began to fade, since the evening settled in around you. The body pays close attention to darkness. It always has. And when darkness arrives, a small gland near the center of the brain, no larger than a grain of rice, begins to release a molecule into the bloodstream. That molecule is melatonin. It is worth knowing what melatonin actually is, because it is often misunderstood. It is not a sedative. It does not force sleep to happen. It is something quieter than that, more of a signal than a command, a message sent through the body that says simply, the light is gone, the day has ended. It is safe to let the hours slow down now. The body receives that message and begins, in its own unhurried way, to respond. And melatonin is not the only thing at work tonight. Throughout the day, as the brain was active, thinking, processing, moving through the world, it was also producing a molecule called adenosine. Adenosine is a natural byproduct of that activity. It accumulates slowly, hour by hour, as a kind of gentle record of everything the waking mind has done. And as it builds, it begins to settle over the brain with a soft, increasing weight. The longer you have been awake, the more adenosine has gathered. And the more it gathers, the more the brain begins to lean toward rest. By now, after a full day, that weight is considerable. Not uncomfortable, more like the feeling of something warm and heavy settling over you. The brain doesn't resist it. It recognizes it. This is what tiredness actually is at its most basic level. Not a weakness, not a failure of the mind to stay sharp, but simply the brain responding to its own chemistry, responding to something it has been building toward all day. There is also another molecule worth knowing about, one that is present throughout the brain at nearly every moment. It is called GABA, gamma-aminobutyric acid, and it is the brain's most widely distributed calming signal. Where other neurotransmitters tell neurons to become active, to fire, to send information forward, GABA does the opposite. It quiets them. It slows the electrical conversation happening across the brain's vast and intricate network, turning down the signal, softening the noise. GABA is at work right now, in this moment, moving through your brain in the same quiet, constant way it always does, helping to bring the activity of billions of neurons into something more still. The brain is not waiting to calm down. It is already calming. The chemistry was never something you needed to arrange or encourage. It has its own schedule, its own rhythm, shaped by millions of years of nights just like this one. All of these processes, the melatonin drifting through the bloodstream, the adenosine pressing gently downward, the GABA softening the electrical hum of the mind, they are not separate things. They are part of one slow, coordinated movement toward rest. A movement that began before you lay down. A movement that is already well on its way. Something happens to the day's experiences once sleep arrives. They don't simply disappear, and they don't stay exactly as they were. They go through a quiet process, one that the brain has been performing every night for your entire life, in which the things you encountered, thought about, and felt are gently sorted through and settled into place. This process has a name. It is called memory consolidation. And at the center of it is a region of the brain called the hippocampus. The hippocampus is involved in holding on to new experiences, the things that happened today, the conversations, the small moments, the things that felt unresolved before you closed your eyes. During sleep, it quietly replays those experiences, not loudly, not in a way that requires anything from you, more like a soft review happening far beneath the surface of awareness. The purpose of that replay is not to return to the day, it is to file it away. The brain is, among many other things, a very patient archivist. It takes what the day has offered and begins the slow work of deciding what to hold on to, what to connect to older memories, and what to gradually release. This happens according to its own logic, its own sense of what matters, and it happens while you sleep, while you are completely unaware of it, while you are doing nothing at all. There is something reassuring in that. The things that feel unfinished tonight, the thoughts that keep returning, the small worries that seem to carry more weight in the dark than they did in the light of the day, they are already in the process of being handled. Not by you, by the brain itself, moving through its nightly work with the same quiet reliability it has always had. Most of what feels urgent at this hour will feel different by morning. Not because the situation will have changed, but because the brain will have had time to process it, to place it in context, to let it settle into its proper proportion. Sleep does not solve problems, but it does change the way the mind holds them. The hippocampus will do its quiet work. The memories of today will be sorted and softened and carried forward into tomorrow in a form that is a little lighter, a little less immediate than they are right now. And none of that requires anything from you. Your only role tonight, if it can even be called a role, is simply to be here, to let the body rest, to allow the breath to continue moving in its slow, steady rhythm. The brain will take care of the rest. It always does. It has never needed to be reminded how. The day is already being taken care of, quietly, without hurry, in the patient dark. There is something worth knowing about what the brain does while the body sleeps. Not the dreaming, not the memory work, though those are happening too, but something even quieter, something that takes place in the deep hours, when sleep has fully arrived and the mind has moved far from the surface of the day. The brain, like any living system, produces waste as it works. Proteins and metabolic byproducts accumulate gradually over the course of a waking day. Small remnants of all that thinking and sensing and processing. And during sleep, the brain has its own way of clearing them. A system called the glymphatic system becomes active in deep sleep. Channels that run alongside the brain's blood vessels open more fully, and cerebrospinal fluid, a clear, slow-moving liquid that surrounds the brain and spinal cord, moves through the brain's tissue in a gentle, steady flow. It carries those accumulated byproducts away, clearing the space between cells, restoring a kind of quiet cleanliness to the brain's interior. It is a slow process, unhurried, the kind of thing that can only happen when the brain is still enough to allow it. The brain has to be at rest for this to work properly. Sleep is, in part, what makes this clearing possible, and so every night, without any awareness on your part, the brain is being gently washed from the inside, restored in a way that waking hours never quite allow. There is also something happening to the rhythm of the brain itself as sleep approaches. During the day, the brain produces what are called beta waves, relatively fast, relatively small electrical rhythms associated with active thinking and attention. As the day ends and the body settles toward rest, those rhythms begin to slow. They shift into alpha waves, which are a little wider and more spacious, associated with the relaxed wakefulness of a mind that is no longer working hard. Then, as sleep begins to arrive, the waves slow further still into theta, which moves through the brain like something long and unhurried, carrying the mind across the threshold between waking and sleep. And deeper in the night, in the quietest hours, the brain settles into delta waves, the slowest of all, long and rolling, the rhythm of deep and restoring sleep. It is possible that even now, as these words are moving past you, the brain's waves are already beginning that gradual shift, already moving away from the faster patterns of a waking mind and towards something slower, something more open and less defined. You would not necessarily notice it happening. That is partly what makes it so gentle. The transition from waking to sleep does not announce itself. It arrives slowly, in the way that stillness arrives, not all at once, but gradually, and then completely. The brain knows these rhythms. It has always known them. And tonight, as it does every night, it is already finding its way back to the slowest ones. The brain and the body are not separate things, even though it can sometimes feel that way. What happens in one is always reflected in the other. And as the brain continues its slow movement towards sleep, as its waves lengthen and its chemistry settles, the body follows, not because it is told to, because it is part of the same quiet system, responding to the same signals, moving in the same direction. One of the pathways that carries those signals is a long branching nerve called the vagus nerve. It runs from the base of the brain down through the chest and into the abdomen, and it is one of the main channels through which the brain communicates a state of calm to the rest of the body. As the brain slows, signals travel down this nerve, gently, steadily, and the body begins to respond. The heart rate eases, not dramatically, just a small, gradual softening of its rhythm. A little more space between beats than there was an hour ago. The muscles, which carry the tension of a day spent moving and holding and reacting, begin to release that tension in small, almost imperceptible ways. The jaw loosens slightly. The shoulders settle. The hands, if they were holding anything, let it go. The breath, too, becomes a little slower, a little less effortful. The body requires less oxygen when it is at rest, and so the breath adjusts, quietly, on its own, without any need for direction. And then there is the temperature. The body's core temperature drops slightly as sleep approaches. Just a degree or so, a small internal cooling that is part of how the body prepares itself for the deeper hours of rest. It happens gradually, and most people never notice it at all. But it is happening right now, in the same unhurried way that everything else is happening, as part of a process that is already well underway. The boundary between being awake and being asleep is not a sharp one. There is no clear line, no definite moment of crossing. It is more like the edge of still water, where the solid ground becomes soft, and then damp, and then, without any particular step, you are simply in it. You may already be somewhere near that edge, the body a little heavier than it was, the thoughts a little less defined, the sounds around you a little more distant. That is not something to reach for. It will come on its own, in its own time, following the same path it has always followed, the brain slowing, the body following, the boundary between waking and sleep becoming softer and softer still. The brain has been doing this for your entire life. Every night, without instruction, without reminder, it has moved through this same gradual settling, the chemistry shifting, the waves slowing, the body following along. Night after night, for every year you have been alive, this process has found its way to completion. It has never needed you to manage it, and it doesn't need that tonight either. Everything that is supposed to happen is already happening. The melatonin, the adenosine, the slow and patient work of the glymphatic system, all of it is already in motion, following rhythms that are older than memory, older than thought. You have done nothing wrong tonight. There is nothing missing. Sleep is not something you have to find. It finds you. The way night finds the world, not through effort, not through searching, but simply by arriving, quietly, without announcement. One moment the sky holds the last of the light, and then, without any particular instant you could point to, it is dark. That is how sleep comes. It is already on its way to you. There is something very simple and very extraordinary about the brain when you stay with it long enough. A soft organ, small enough to hold in 2 hands, weighing just a few pounds, and yet it holds everything. Every face you have ever known, every morning you remember waking up to, every feeling that has ever moved through you. All of it somehow held in something so quiet and so still. Right now, that same brain is resting, not working, not solving, not holding on to anything in particular, just resting, the way it has always known how to rest, in the dark, in the quiet, at the end of a day that has now fully passed. The day is behind you, the night is here, and the brain, as it always does, is finding its way to stillness. There is nothing more to know tonight, nothing more to follow or understand. Just this, the slow breath, the heavy body, the quiet that has settled around everything. The thoughts, if there are any left, are distant now, growing quieter, the brain resting, the night continuing, everything still. Good night.